Colorado's Supreme Court has ruled that Donald Trump cannot run for president next year in the state, citing a constitutional insurrection clause. The court ruled 4-3 that Mr. Trump was not an eligible candidate because he had engaged in an insurrection over the U.S. Capitol riot nearly 3 years ago. It does not stop Mr. Trump running in the other states, and his campaign says it will appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. The decision, they said, was completely flawed. The ruling only mentions the state's primary election on March 5, when Republican voters will choose their preferred candidate for president. But it could affect the general election in Colorado next November. It is the first ever use of Section 3 of the U.S. Constitution's 14th Amendment to disqualify a presidential candidate. The measure was ratified after the American Civil War to block secessionists from returning to previous government roles once southern states rejoined the Union. Tuesday's decision, which has been placed on hold pending appeal until next month, only applies in Colorado. Similar attempts to kick Mr. Trump off the ballot in New Hampshire, Minnesota, and Michigan have failed. The justices wrote in their ruling, "We do not reach these conclusions lightly. We are mindful of the magnitude and weight of the questions now before us. We are likewise mindful of our solemn duty to apply the law, without fear or favor, and without being swayed by public reaction to the decisions that the law mandates we reach." One of the 3 justices who dissented, Carlos Samar, though, said the government could not deprive someone of the right to hold public office without due process of law. The decision reverses an earlier one from a Colorado judge, who ruled the ban did not apply to presidents but found Mr. Trump had participated in an insurrection. The former president's supporters stormed Congress on January 6, 2021, while lawmakers were certifying President Joe Biden's election victory. The decision does not go into effect until January 4, 2024, coming right up to the deadline for printing the state's presidential primary ballots. That delay could be extended if the Supreme Court takes up the case, which legal experts speaking to the BBC expect it to do. They also expect the Colorado ruling to have a tough time in the highest court in the land, where conservatives hold a 6-3 majority. The Supreme Court will likely not uphold the disqualification of Mr. Trump out of institutional caution, said Professor Samuel Issacharoff, a constitutional law professor at New York University. It cannot be that the national candidacy for presidency is determined on a state-by-state basis, he said. That would be a breakdown of democratic order. The Supreme Court is also wary of state courts when it comes to the election, said Robert Tsai, a constitutional law professor from Boston University. The last time it heard a case involving a presidential election was Bush v. Gore in 2000, when it stopped the state of Florida from carrying out a vote recount. Since then, the court has become even more hostile or skeptical of state court judges doing things to interfere with the election of a president, he said. The Trump campaign and fellow Republicans, including other candidates in the primary, accused the Colorado court of playing politics. Calling the ruling completely flawed, campaign spokesman Stephen Chung lambasted the justices, who were all appointed by Democratic governors. Democrat Party leaders are in a state of paranoia over the growing, dominant lead President Trump has amassed in the polls, Mr. Chung said in a statement.